The yen has dropped to its lowest level in 3 weeks, and the pound is climbing back from 1-month low. But it's a weak dollar that's been having the biggest impact on the U.S. earnings this quarter. Companies including Walmart, TGX, and Sun Life Financial have each credited or blamed part of their results on foreign exchange rates this time around. Vassili Serebriakov joins us now. He's a currency strategist at Wells Fargo Bank, the top currency forecaster, according to data compiled by Bloomberg. So we call him a Bloomberg best. Vassili, thanks for joining us. Which one do you want to start with? There's some great stories here, or some horrible stories, depending on your perspective. And the yen, I think, because of the governor's recent comments, the most interesting. A very severe economy.
Well, I think we're still feeling the consequences of the March earthquake, of course. And whereas the initial currency reaction was somewhat yen positive in expectations of those repatriation flows, I think we're slowly coming towards the longer-term reaction, which is negative in the sense that the Bank of Japan is going to keep rates very low longer than all other major central banks, and that includes the Fed.
Is it a good thing for the Japanese economy that the yen drops in value? I mean, then they can sell more of their goods, right? Don't we want that too?
Yeah, we're still pretty far from the point where the yen is cheap, though, and certainly, with the yen being near record highs, still, I think there's some way to go before the Japanese exporters can take advantage of a weaker currency, which I agree would be beneficial down the road.
What about the U.S. dollar? I mean, we have very intelligent, educated people coming on here all the time and saying the weak dollar is good for the U.S. economy. But it seems that the historians say that never turns out to be the right solution, weakening your currency.
Well, the question is how weak. It's good when it's weak, when the economy is recovering. And we've seen that in exports data, which really has been the source of strength in this otherwise subdued U.S. economic recovery. But you don't want it to be so weak as to undermine the confidence in the currency, undermine the confidence in the U.S. Treasury markets. So I think, some weakness is probably good, but we're already near historic lows in the dollar. So the question is, can we go much lower?
Can we go much lower? What do you think? I mean,
I think the cyclical story for dollar weakness is getting towards its limit. The Fed is ending its Treasury purchases in June. There'll be, I think, a threshold moment for the dollar. It's not necessarily going to spell dollar strength because you still need the Fed, I think, to start actually tightening policy. But at least it'll remove a source of downward pressure on the U.S. currency. So it's a starting point.
What's your favorite pair trade right now with the dollar? What should dollar holders buy or sell?
Well, I still think we like to sell the Japanese yen, again, with the long-term view. In the short run, we still like the commodity currencies, especially the Canadian dollar. Until and unless we get a change of tone from the Fed, the dollar is not going to find many fans. And I think the Canadian dollar, benefiting from perhaps stronger U.S. growth, but at the same time having a very strong domestic story, very strong commodities story, a very strong domestic interest rate story, is a currency that should do well over the next 6 months.
What about the pound trade? I mean, the eye-popping inflation figures this morning made me think, oh, they need to raise rates quickly.
Yeah, they need to raise rates, but the economy is extremely weak. GDP has been basically flat over the past 2 quarters. There may be one so-called credibility rate hike in the UK. How much good is it going to do for the currency remains to be seen. We would be sellers of the pound on rallies towards 165 levels, again, with the idea that even if we get one rate hike, it's not to turn into a series of rate hikes.
Got it. Vassili, thanks so much for joining us. Vassili Serebriakov there, Wells Fargo currency strategist, the best ranked by Bloomberg. So glad to have you on the program.